Welcome to Money Talks, a series of interviews with me, Liam Halligan, Economics and Business Editor of GBNews. In this episode, I talked to Nick Bianchi, Director of the iconic furniture retailer Arighi Bianchi, based in Macclesfield, around 15 miles south of Manchester. Nick's a direct descendant of Antonio Bianchi, a cabinet maker from Lake Como, who left in Italy in the mid-19th century to settle in this Cheshire market town, getting together with another Italian family to establish Arighi Bianchi in 1854. In this wide-ranging discussion, Nick talks about the advantages of running a family-owned business, how the company fared during lockdown, and Arighi Bianchi's ongoing pivot towards online retailing. Nick, great to see you, and it's great to be here in Arighi Bianchi because every time I drive through Macclesfield, it's quite often, I've got family in this part of the world, I see that huge Arighi Bianchi sign. Your shop really is an institution here, not just in Macclesfield and Cheshire, but the North West in general.
Yeah, we're really, first of all, proud to be based in Macclesfield. Our history stretches back 168 years, back in 1854 when our founder, Antonio Bianchi, arrived, leaving the shores of Lake Como. Sometimes I think, why did he leave Lake Como to come to Macclesfield?
Not for the weather.
Certainly not for the weather. But, you know, if you think for a moment, there was civil war raging in northern Italy, and well, across Italy. And where we're from in Lake Como was very big in silk. And Macclesfield then was the largest producer of finished silk in the world. So we know, whilst Arighi was a cabinet maker, he had loads of clients in the silk trade in Italy. And they knew people in Macclesfield and said, look, if you're going to flee a civil war, we'll know people to set you up in Macclesfield.
This is a Money Talks interview. We go in depth. I do want to ask you about lockdown, how you survived that. I do want to ask you about how you're dealing with the challenge from online retailers here in your magnificent showroom in Macclesfield. But I do just want to ask you first about that family ownership of your business, that heritage from Italy, become an institution here in the Northwest. How important is it that you're a family business? What decisions does that allow you to make that maybe a business that's funded externally with lots and lots of shareholders would have to act?
I think first and foremost, we can plan for the long term. So every decision we make is the long term. We've now been joined by the fifth generation. And so we're very much here. I see myself here, sat here today as a custodian for the next generation. And I think it's vitally important. I think it's vitally important too for the staff that work for us over the course, some 25, 30, 40 years, that it has the family ownership. I was reading a report that I think there's about 6 million family businesses in the UK. And I really feel that family businesses as a whole are so important and contribute greatly to the economy, and we're so proud to still be in the family and make decisions, for the best of the business.
When you've got that family ownership as opposed to lots and lots of shareholders, you've got control, haven't you? There's no external shareholders voting to tell you what to do. The family controls the board. You're in control of your own destiny. How important is that in terms of helping the business to survive, in terms of not just following short-term trends, but having a long-term vision and implementing it?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. In terms of the long-term vision, I mean, if you take, the challenges we've been facing over the last 15 years, I mean, so the credit crisis, the financial crisis of 2008, that we were able to be calm. We meet as a family every week and we can talk things through. We've not been pressurised externally, as you say, to make rash decisions or quick decisions. Hopefully that has helped us sustain. I think over the last 168 years, we've always been quite prudent. I mean, we've survived 2 world wars. There wasn't much business during World War I and World War II. And I think that has cascaded through down to us in the fourth generation, just not to over-edge ourselves in terms of being too grandiose.
So your predecessors, as you say, they survived world wars, they survived a big slowdown in the 30s, recession in the 70s. But your generation of Arighis and Bianchis, you survived the credit crunch and now you've survived lockdown. By all accounts, the business is still standing, still doing well, still very popular and reputable here in Macclesfield and the Northwest. Nick, how was lockdown for you?
Oh, we suffered like everyone else. I mean, we employ about 150 staff. On the 22nd of March, we had 150. The next day, we were down to only a handful, and it was tough because obviously the store. Actually, in fact, the store was closed temporarily for the first time. I think it was last closed during the Spanish flu in 1919. So,
wow.
So you can imagine how difficult it was. Obviously, the store was shut. We couldn't deliver. We had no deliveries coming in. But we did have an online, luckily we could transact online, but they could only be the smaller items. So certainly from the turnover we do on a weekly basis, suddenly we're just, able to deliver to the door an accessory. Obviously, we're taking a hit on turnover. Obviously, furlough helped, but it was good times as well, Liam, because there was about 8 of us, and every day things changed. And but on a lovely side,
siege mentality.
Yeah, there was.
A lot of businesses have described lockdown to me like that. If once they realised they could survive, they had a chance. A kind of siege mentality kicked in, and it was about survival and pulling together and working with each other.
100%. Actually, dare I say, it was quite enjoyable because it's like you've just seen Kath. There was Charlie, there was David. There's only a handful of us, and but on a positive side, we worked with some hospitals locally who they were looking to create these sanctuary rooms for nurses and all these people working extremely long hours. They were the heroes. And we were able to, donate furniture to them and deliver. So there were some nice pieces as well, certainly during lockdown 1, where we feel we could be, because we feel as a family business, being here nearly 170 years, we feel a responsibility to the area, to the town. And, many staff have got families and relatives who work at the hospitals. And so we're really pleased we were able to do that.
What strikes me is that during lockdown, lots and lots of businesses suffered, but some pulled through. What is it about Arighi Bianchi that made sure that you pulled through? Because it strikes me, even though this was very testing, there wasn't a time, or was there, when you felt this incredible local brand, this institution that is Arighi Bianchi, was ever going to disappear?
Well, one of the things that gave me a lot of support was I felt it was necessary to communicate to all the customers personally during that period who'd placed orders with us, and their furniture might have been sat in our warehouse. And it was just, I used the opportunity whether to email them personally or speak to them, and they were like, "Oh, Nick or Mr. Bianchi, as soon as you open, we're going to come back," and that gave us a lot of reassurance. And I do feel that during the crisis of '08, where a lot of business went, fell by the wayside, I think that 160 odd years of history and heritage, helps you. And, people do see it. Honestly, we see it much more than just a store. When 9/11 happened, we got loads of phone calls into our reception from people who'd seen these images on TV, horrific images on TV, and just wanted to speak to someone. And so, so I think it's much more than just a store, and we recognise that, and we,
That's incredible.
No, it was, it was, it was. They just wanted to hear a voice, and they'd see coming here as part of their, daily life.
Now, as you know, we're here in Macclesfield, the first stop on our GB News North West Week. We've deliberately chosen, with all respect, towns rather than cities. Our North West correspondent, Brad Harris, is always in Liverpool, he's always in Manchester. But we wanted to come to towns, so Macclesfield, Burnley, Blackpool, different kinds of towns, but lots of things in common, particularly the High Street. We cover often on the money the fate of the High Street. How's it going? It's a centre of communities. You must have a real feel for the High Street here in Macclesfield. It strikes me it's quite a successful High Street, despite all the problems that High Streets are having with business rates, with the surge of competition from online retailers. What are your thoughts, Nick Bianchi, on the future of the High Street?
I think, certainly for Macclesfield High Street, I think there's some really good people doing incredible things to boost the High Street. Macclesfield has always been fantastically known for small independents, creative
and proper market town, right?
Yeah, proper market towns, and you see that when they have the markets at the end of the month, treacle markets and things like that, and it works really well. And I feel that the High Street does have a future. I really do, and like I said, there's some really good people. around Macclesfield who are trying to push it. Yes, of course, you've got the online, but as long as you make it, the town interesting, give people a reason to come. It's like very much with our store, make it an exciting and interesting place to come. It will still continue to thrive.
Now, there can't be many more tactile shopping experiences than a beautiful furniture store. You want to sit in that armchair, you want to lay on that bed, you want to touch and feel the fabric of that lampshade, those curtains. What did you learn about retailing, and particularly retailing furniture during lockdown? To what extent did your view of online retailing in your sector change?
It changed because obviously people couldn't visit the store, so people were more prepared to have to take a punt on furniture. Since lockdown 3 ended in April, I think we opened in April the 12th last year, reopened, we feel there's definitely a desire to come to the store, and that's coming from all distances. I mean, our footprint on customers is huge, nationwide and international. So that we feel now that people will come to the store. The key for online is that we populate as many products online, because we know 60% will do their research online before visiting.
It's got to be a sumptuous experience, just like coming to this shop is a sumptuous experience.
Absolutely. And so what's key for us, yes, we do transact online, but what we've noticed after the lockdowns is that people actually want to get out, want to come, want to experience, to say, here we've got, the parking, the cafe.
Were you surprised at how much you could sell online?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it went nuts, like exponentially. It grew, certainly from, say, March the 23rd, 2020.
Yeah.
Starting with smaller items and then larger items. And
this is different from the credit crunch, isn't it? Because house prices didn't collapse.
No.
There was still equity in people's homes, those who were lucky enough to own their own homes, so they felt that they could afford to buy furniture. That's something that wasn't there in 2007 and 8, it seems to me.
I agree.
Is that right?
I totally agree, Liam. It's a totally different landscape, totally different. When we reopened the doors, literally it was so busy, and so the in-store experience for us is really important, and we like people to come, but equally we understand that if we've got customers in Cornwall who might not see it, we've got to give them every chance that they could feel comfortable buying a sofa with us and make it as attractive online. With rendering images, we're going down the route of AR and all these things in the future. So,
a couple of short questions to end, Nick. Business rates is a hot political issue. A lot of small physical retailers, if you like, say to us, contact GB News, contact On The Money. It's business rates that are killing my business. I have to pay them, even if I don't make profit, even if I don't make any turnover. Does that impact your business?
Not so much. I totally understand, because I sit on a board of Macclesfield Means Business, and I do understand that.
It's a common,
oh goodness me, absolutely.
Common subject.
And I sit on a board which talks about the high street, and that gets talked all the time. And I do think it does need addressing, 100%, but not so much for us, no.
You're a busy man. Boris Johnson's a busy man. But how about I get you two together in the GB News On The Money elevator for 15 seconds? What do you say to him about what you need to make your business work, to make businesses locally here in Macclesfield work?
I think, like you say, support the North, give us as much investment. Don't just keep it in London, keep it in the north of England, and it's a wonderful area. So yeah.
Nick Bianchi, great to see you. Thanks for appearing.
Thanks very much, Liam.
Money Talks.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Money Talks with me, Liam Halligan, Economics and Business Editor of GB News. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you're listening or watching. Do subscribe to this podcast, and also check out my daily television show, On The Money, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday on GB News or via the GB News app. GB News, Britain's news channel.